Alright, you hard asses, and welcome to the Testosterone channel. So in the Expendables, there are a lot of tough guys that you don't want to mess with. But today we'll focus on one very brave man that thinks that he can beat up all of them. Are you ready? Let's get into it. Alright fellas, you know the drill. Before we start whooping some expendable butt here today, why don't you hit that like and subscribe button? So Michael Jai White is definitely a real badass mother that you don't ever want to mess with. I would say of all the tough martial arts actors in Hollywood, he's definitely the elite, which just makes this video so much more interesting. Now before this man tries to strangle all the expendable members one by one, let's check out the man's background. The man you're looking at is a 100% tough guy and a super martial artist. Michael Jai White was born in Brooklyn, New York, but soon after moved to Connecticut where he grew up. As a young boy, he discovered the amazing world of martial arts, and since then he has never looked back. The man has quite a resume, which includes Taekwondo, Tangsudo, Wushu, Jiu-Jitsu, Kyokushin, Karate, Boxing, Shotokan, Goju, and so much more. Okay, that doesn't sound too bad at all, but what does the experts have to say about Michael Jai White's martial arts skills? Joe Rogan describes the man as having perfect technique and as being 100% legit. Now keep in mind, Rogan has been around everything and everybody in the world of martial arts and MMA, so his words and opinions means a lot in the world of fighting. So maybe, just maybe, Michael Jai White really is that good.
Oh, definitely.
Well, you can't say the man is not confident, that's for sure. But where did it all begin? The man got introduced to martial arts when he was just 8 years old, and after just 4 years of training, he received his first black belt. However, this was just the beginning. Fast forward to today. This man is so impressive, so he has a black belt in 7 different types of martial arts. The man definitely does not shy away from showing off some of his really slick moves in his movies. Now, other than being a real badass martial artist, the man is also built like a rock. The man stands at 6'1" and weighs around 230 pounds of shredded Herculean muscles. But was it always that easy for the guy? Well, Michael Jai White has said, and I quote, "I was an insecure kid growing up in a harsh environment. Martial arts was my armor." The man has definitely learned a lot of discipline from martial arts, but he's also very confident in his own abilities. In fact, the man believes that he can beat up pretty much anybody, including Bruce Lee, Steven Seagal, and of course, all members of the Expendables. So one could ask, is the man delusional or just the greatest fighter that ever lived? Well, we'll get to that. Okay, so now that we have met Michael Jai White and seen him in action, let's see what he has said in regards to if he can beat up any Expendable members.
The person in the Expendables I could definitely whoop is
The Expendables.
What? All of them? All of them? Haha, this is going to be interesting. Yeah, sorry Michael, I seriously doubt that he can beat up all the Expendables. Because you know what? They're not only a handful, they're more like 2 handfuls. Hell, they're like 3 handfuls, and they're all badasses. However, who am I to judge if the man thinks he can do it? So, at least, let's give the man a chance. Fair enough? Now, let's go beat up some Expendables. Let's go down the list and see what he's really up against. Okay, so I put our Expendable friends into 3 different categories. 1, decent, okay fighters. 2, advanced fighters. And 3, highly advanced fighters. Alright, Michael Jai White, you asked for it. It's
showtime.
Anyway, comment as much as you like. Meanwhile, let's beat up some Expendables. The first Expendable on the list is known for saying, "Yippee-ki-yay, mother." Somehow it's just not really Christmas until you see John McClane throw Hans Gruber out of the window at Nakatomi Tower. In Bruce Willis' 40-year movie career, he has worked on countless of action films, and you can tell that he has always been very athletic. The man definitely knows how to throw a punch in real life, but is that enough? However, if he had to fight Michael Jai White, I'm sorry Bruce, but you would lose. The next tough guy on the list is the greatest bodybuilder known to man. A pure machine. In 1984, Arnold Schwarzenegger played the Terminator, which turned him into a big star.
I'll be back.
At the same time, writer-director James Cameron predicted what a human machine would look like 40 years into the future. And here we are, exactly 40 years later. And what do you think? Did the man come close in his predictions or what? Anyway, enough of all this hasta la vista stuff. Let's get back to the more human version of Arnold. Arnold Schwarzenegger is without a doubt one of the biggest bodybuilders as well as action stars that the world has ever seen. But would he have a chance against Michael Jai White? I think you know the answer. Very sad. Anyway, let me give you a clue in regards to who the next guy on the list is. Team leader? That's a tough one, isn't it? Sylvester Stallone has killed hundreds of people in the Rambo movies alone. There's no doubt that the man can hold his own and he can throw a serious punch. And in my opinion, I would say between him, Bruce and Arnold, I would put all my money on Sly. But that's not exactly where we're going here, is it? So what would happen if he got into the ring with Michael Jai White? Even though I've always been a huge fan of Stallone, I must say he's not gonna win this fight. Now the next guy on the list is a big, bad, mean Now some of you guys may disagree with me here, but even Terry Crews does not survive the first round. We have to eliminate him right here, right now. Yes, he looks big, he looks mean, and he has a ton of muscles. And he looks really good shooting a gun. However, Terry Crews in real life does not have any fighting experience. He was a football player, but that does not really help you much in a fight against someone like Michael Jai White, does it? Sorry, Terry. Anyway, so this was just the warm-up round. Now, Michael Jai White is a lifelong martial artist, and none of those guys that we have seen so far really have had any fighting experience. Now, let the real fight begin. Of advanced fighters, Mickey Rourke is the first man on the list. And yes, the man is more impressive than a lot of you, especially young guys, are aware of. The actor has a background in boxing, and as a young man he fought dozens of times. And many years later, after he had turned into a big movie star, he actually became a professional boxer. Between 1991 and 1994, he fought a total of 8 fights. He had 6 wins, 4 by knockout and 2 draws. So altogether, not too shabby. Now before Mickey Rourke gets in the ring with Michael Jai White, let's have a little warm-up fight with Rocky Balboa, and let's see what might happen. Now to me it looks like Rocky is not even trying to defend himself, it must be a new strategy. He just takes it like a man. So I think it's fair to say that this man can definitely throw a punch. I'll even go as far as to say if he were to fight Michael Jai White in a regular boxing match, Michael would be in trouble. However, in this video, Michael Jai White is allowed to use his legs. And we know how deadly they are, don't we? So Mickey, sorry. Alright, so now that Michael Jai White has worked his way up the ladder and earned a lot of respect for sure, now it's getting really interesting. So, let me just say, this next dude, he's very good at transporting things, he's a mechanic, and you will not be safe around him. You need more clues? Alright, the next guy on the list is the transporter himself, Jason Statham. Jason is quite interesting. He looks more like a guy that will start a bar fight for no reason. Most people wouldn't expect him to be a martial artist because he has played all kinds of characters. And they usually scream of chaos and disharmony. Not exactly what you would expect from a true martial artist. However, don't let that fool you. He has trained in Wing Chun, Kung Fu, kickboxing and karate, and he also holds a purple belt in Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. Interestingly enough, he was also a member of Britain's national diving team and competed for England in the 1990 Commonwealth Games. Now Jason has a lot of different types of physical skills, and he is so much more than just a great martial artist, which makes him perfect and ideal for action films. If you have followed the man's career over the last 20 years or so, you must have noticed his martial arts skills in the 3 Transporter movies, and of course, how can we forget the entire Expendable franchise? He has also done several movies with Jet Li himself, where they got to show off some of their fancy moves. Now to see Michael Jai White and Jason Statham square off, that would be one hell of a fight. And perhaps I should even do an entire video about it. Anyway, let's cut to the chase here. I still lean towards Michael Jai White as the winner. He's just too damn powerful. Let's move on to the next expendable fighter. So if you're in an airplane and your seat number is 58, that means you'll be sitting next to passenger 57? Exactly. Let's meet Wesley. That's right, Wesley Snipes, aka Simon Phoenix, aka Nino Brown, aka The Blade himself. Wesley and John Wick have a lot of things in common. They have killed a ton of bad guys. Now, just like with Johnny Boy here, you have to say that Wesley was totally justified in killing hundreds of people. I mean, after all, they tried to kill him, right? And on top of that, they were also a bunch of a-holes.
Gotcha!
Anyway, let's check out the man's background. Wesley Snipes began training martial arts when he was just 12 years old. He has a 5th degree black belt in Shotokan Karate and 2nd degree black belt in Hapkido. Wesley is pretty well rounded. He has also studied capoeira and various styles of Kung Fu and Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu. He is definitely worthy of having an expendable tattoo on his arm. And this leads us to the next question. Can Wesley Snipes beat up Michael Jai White? Yeah, I'm pretty sure that Mr. White here would also take down Mr. Snipes in hand-to-hand combat. Goodbye, Wesley. Yeah, you know his name, don't you? Next on the list of advanced martial artists, we have the Muscles from Brussels, aka Jean-Claude Van Damme. Okay, now technically Van Damme was actually never a member of the Expendables, since he was the bad guy in the second one. But the man is such a legend in the world of martial arts action films, so we all want to see him in this video, don't we? There's no doubt that Van Damme is among the greatest martial arts action stars that the world has ever seen. As a young boy, he trained a variety of different styles, but he's mostly known for Shotokan Karate, in which he's a 2-degree black belt. What's really interesting here is that a lot of people, even some famous martial artists, never really wanted to give Van Damme a whole lot of credit for his martial arts skills. Personally, I think a lot of that deals with jealousy and enviness. I mean, look at the man, he looks flawless.
Mr. Perfection.
He inspired me to work out and study martial arts. From what I've been able to dig up about Van Damme as a competitive fighter, here goes. On an amateur level, he had a total of 48 fights, 44 wins and 4 losses. Not too bad. He also competed in kickboxing a total of 19 times. He won 18 and all by knockouts, and he lost 1. Not many martial arts action stars have ever been able to use their skills to look this cool and macho on screen. And Van Damme has also been able to add an emotional layer to his characters in the fight scenes, which you very rarely see. It just makes them so much better, and you can't help rooting for the guy. Van Damme was so much more than just a pretty face. Now let the fun begin. Back in 1999, Jean-Claude Van Damme and Michael Jai White actually worked together on the movie Universal Soldier: The Return. Of course, you know how it goes, Van Damme played the hero, so he had to win. But they had a pretty good fight in the end. Okay, moment of truth. As much as I want Van Damme to succeed in every aspect of life, including in this little scenario, I have to be as non-biased as possible. Michael Jai White will be the winner. So by now Michael Jai White needs to perform at his highest level, because we still have 5 world-class fighters left. To them, killing is as easy as breathing. Alright, I know that's actually a line from Rambo 4, but I had to say something really cool to introduce these next fighters. Next we have a big mother that you don't want to mess with, and here's why. Okay, the first man on the list is actually more machine than man. Dolph Lundgren is a true killer, or at least he could be if he decided to use his martial arts for all the wrong reasons. Oddly enough, some people don't think Dolph is worth much, probably because he suffers from the same problem as Van Damme. They're both pretty boys. Now let's face some facts here. During the shooting of Rocky IV, Stallone said to Dolph, "Let's go for some realism," which ended up almost costing Stallone his life. Dolph hit the man so hard so he ended up in the ICU. Even the doctors did not believe that this had been caused by a human being. They said this is normally only something we see in car accidents. At 6'5" and strong as a bull, one question remains. Can he actually fight? I'll let you answer that question. Fair enough? Dolph picked up martial arts when he was a teenager. He also competed over several years, and some of his greatest achievements was when he won the European Championship 2 years in a row. So here's where it gets really exciting. Dolph studied Kyokushin Karate, which is a very tough and brutal style, and I think most martial artists in the world would agree. And yes, Michael Jai White happens to fit into that category, because he's also very familiar with Kyokushin Karate. In fact, he has described it as the Navy SEALs of martial arts. And that's where the man's heart is. Alright fellas, can you imagine what a fight between these two warriors, these two Kyokushin masters would actually look like in the ring? Oh, this would be really interesting, wouldn't you say?
Yeah! Alright!
This fight could go either way, so I would have to leave it as a tie or a draw. Alright, so now it's getting really interesting here because the next opponent is Scott Adkins. I should point out, just like with Van Damme, Scott Adkins was never actually a member of the Expendables, even though he definitely belonged on the team, wouldn't you say? He was more like Van Damme's right-hand henchman in the Expendables 2, but he had a really cool fight with Jason Statham, so let's check it out. Yeah, Scott Adkins is definitely one of the nicest guys in Hollywood, no doubt. He's Mr. Family Man and altogether a really good guy. But that doesn't mean that we should piss him off, does it? Probably not a wise decision, and here's why. Scott Adkins is from the generation of Gen X action stars, which means he grew up and was inspired by guys like Jean-Claude Van Damme and Jackie Chan. Now, every generation of action stars come along, and when they do, they usually add something new and fresh. And so was the case with Scott Adkins. Now, if you thought Van Damme was impressive in the kicking department, wait until you see Scott Adkins. Alright, no big deal, so the man can show off on the big screen, so what? Okay, it's actually pretty cool. But what exactly has the man studied? Now, we seriously don't have time to get into all of it, because he has studied equally as much as Michael Jai White, maybe even more. But here's some of the highlights. Taekwondo, Judo, Karate, Capoeira, Wushu, Muay Thai, Kung Fu, Jeet Kune Do, Kickboxing, Brazilian Jiu-Jitsu, and so much more. The man is lethal. Alright, so between these two modern-day martial arts warriors, who wins a fight? Now, in this scenario, it's really hard to predict. Michael Jai White is definitely bigger and stronger. However, Scott Adkins is about a decade younger, and that also matters in a fight. Now, personally, I would love to pay a lot of money to witness this, because it would be so close. I think we have to leave it as a tie. By now, Michael Jai White definitely got his hands full. And why? Because the next member of the Expendables, Randy Couture! Next on the list of bad motherfuckers, we have Randy Couture. He's a former US Army sergeant, and let's just call him the king of mixed martial arts. Couture has competed in a record of 16 title fights. He's the fourth member of the UFC Hall of Fame. He's one of only 2 over the age of 40 to have won a UFC championship fight, having done so 4 times. He's one of the few MMA fighters to regain a title that he had lost, and the only one to have done it 3 times. Twice as heavyweight, once as light heavyweight. Now to the interesting part. Michael Jai White being a martial arts expert and Randy Couture being a professional fighter. Let's just say it would not be pretty. Michael Jai White loses his first fight. I know we have already killed off Terry Crews, but I think it couldn't hurt to see what the man has to say about Randy Couture. While doing some promotion for the Expendables 2, he said the following in an interview. Randy Couture could kill us all. He was joking around with me one day on the set and he put me in a chokehold and I was like, Randy, stop. Randy, I can't breathe. That's the kind of guy Randy is. He's just fooling around and he could kill you. He's definitely lethal. Dolph Lundgren comes in second because he's a major karate champion. He studied martial arts for years. Next we have a great legend and one of my all-time favorites. The greatest, the one and only, Jet Li. Welcome to Jet Li, the master. Actually, I'm not even kidding. The man really is a master. Jet Li has won the title of men's all-around national wushu champion 5 times. Jet Li is a natural-born martial artist. He started studying at age 8, and just 4 years later, he already started winning. Here's how he describes his early fighting career. My winning first place caused quite a sensation because I was so young. I was 12 years old and the other 2 medalists were in their mid to late 20s. During the award ceremony, as I stood on the top step of the podium, I was still shorter than the 2nd and 3rd place medalists. It must have been quite a sight. Not only does the man have great skills, he's very talented and he knows literally everything about fighting. And as you can see, he uses it quite often in his movies. And it has definitely helped him become one of the biggest martial arts action stars that Asia has ever seen. And as you can see, the man also has great charisma. In my mind, the 3 greatest Asian martial arts stars ever would have to be Bruce Lee, Jackie Chan and Jet Li. Now, according to Michael Jai White, size definitely matters.
Yeah, size matters a great deal.
Now, Michael Jai White outweighs Jet Li with over 80 pounds, which is a lot in a fight. Now again, the scale isn't everything, but when you're dealing with someone like Michael Jai White that also has a lot of skills, it will not be an easy match for Jet. Jet Li is definitely one of my all-time favorite heroes, but in this scenario where we're talking about a hand-to-hand combat, I think he would have his hands full. And as much as I hate saying this, Jet Li loses this fight. Now, I should point out though, if these 2 guys were to fight with weapons instead of fists, it would be over in 10 seconds. And here's why. Now, being a Wushu Jedi Master like Jet Li here, not many people could give him some serious competition when squaring off with weapons. Now, even though Michael Jai White also has studied some Wushu and know a thing or two about weapons, I seriously doubt that he could give Jet Li some competition. He might stand a chance if suddenly he turned into Mr. Wolverine himself, but I seriously doubt that would happen though. There is one man left. Remember, one man can make a difference. And this is the one. The chosen one. Alright, boys and girls, ready for the final and ultimate fight that the world has ever seen. You better get the snacks ready, cause things are going down. So Chuck Norris only appeared in the Expendables 2, and even though he wasn't actually a member of the group, then he was still very well respected. More like an equal to Sylvester Stallone's character, Barney Ross. Okay, so it will literally take all day to mention just half of Chuck Norris' accomplishments in the world of martial arts. So let's just stick to the highlights, which should be more than enough to whoop anybody's ass. The man is a 10th degree black belt in karate. He has also studied taekwondo, jiu-jitsu, judo and so much more. Okay, so Jean-Claude Van Damme is definitely very known for his famous split and his powerful flying kicks. But long before we knew about Van Damme, there was a guy named Chuck Norris, and he also had a couple of kicks up his sleeve. Between 1968 and 1974, Chuck Norris held the world title. In that time frame, he also met Bruce Lee, trained with him, and even appeared in the movie The Return of the Dragon. The man has simply done it all, and he is a true legend. And yes, even Michael Jai White has nothing but nice things to say about Chuck Norris. Anyway, we still need one last answer. This probably should not come as a surprise to many, but Chuck Norris wins this fight. Now, this video was inspired by the Bruce Lee movie Game of Death. You know, where he fights one bad guy and climbs up a flight of stairs and fights another opponent and all that, kind of like a video game. However, this was one video game that I think Michael Jai White lost. Now, I'm kind of curious, who do you think that would actually be able to beat Michael Jai White in this video? Please comment, let me know, and as always, guys, like, subscribe to the channel. I'll see you next time for some more bloody action.